Welcome, True Sports family, to the True Sports Physical Therapy Podcast. We got Sam Jankowski.
That is right.
Sam Jankowski. I hope that's your last name, not to be confused with Janowski.
No, you didn't.
Sam Jankowski. You're one of the newer members of the True Sports Physical Therapy team. You are off to a rockin' start, and you've had an unbelievable, albeit abbreviated career thus far. What I want to learn from you today, and what everyone really wants to learn, is how you got so good so fast. So give me a little bit of background about what got you to where you are today, and then how you just really skipped over that learning curve to be an outstanding sports physical therapist.
Yeah, Yoni. First of all, thank you so much for having me on today. It's an honor, and I'm just so excited to be a part of this and to be a part of the True Sports family. So it's been awesome. So I can just kind of give you a little bit just about myself and how I got here. So I played soccer at St. Francis University for a couple of years, transferred to Westchester University, played soccer there, completed my undergrad, and then I went on to PT school at Tufts University School of Medicine and just graduated this past December. So that was a really cool experience as well.
Now, your Tufts education, sorry to already jump in.
No, yeah.
Tell me about what that was like, because it was mostly virtual, right?
Yeah. So it's a 2-year hybrid program. I was their only second cohort to start. So I had a friend that went through. I was working at the time. She was actually going through the program, and that's kind of how I heard about it who I was working with. And by that time, I was like, you know what? Let me just give this a shot. You know, I'm nothing to lose. It's different. It's really becoming up and coming in the hybrid program. So I dove right in. It was, like I said, 2 years accelerated. So it was, we would go to Boston twice a semester for about a week or two, where we would do all of our hands-on labs and things along those lines, all of our practicals. And then I would have class on Zoom Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, exams Thursday, Friday. And it was really just nonstop. And I know that they've lengthened the program now to 2.5 years, because I think they've realized that it's a lot of information at once. Oh my gosh, yeah. But yeah, so we all made it out, and it was a cool experience. You met a lot of cool people, and we had a lot of great professors that came in from all around the country, and it was awesome.
Would you have done that before COVID? Would you have considered an entire program that's hybrid?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, definitely, because I was still at Westchester when COVID was happening. So I really that really introduced me to the online world. Honestly, I might have, I'm just kind of one that's, I'll take a chance on something and I'll go all in. So I think I would have dabbled and experimented with it, but for sure, the COVID era and being online really prepared me for that as well. So,
but to me, PT it's so in person. It's so hands-on.
Right.
I really thought pre-COVID, our career, our profession, I should say, was going to become extinct. I thought once COVID hit, or even before COVID, everything's going to become virtual. We're using technology more and more.
I know,
that we would be replaced. And then I went through COVID, and I was in hell trying to rehab these people virtually. It was so cumbersome. It was so clunky, but your whole education was like that. So what are the pluses and minuses of going through an educational program like that?
Yeah. So honestly, one, I think what really helped me was my background in PT. And I know we might get into this a little bit later, but I was a rehab aide since I was 17, 18 in a bunch of clinics, kind of back home. I grew up in PA, and really just kind of made my way down here and really worked all my way around PA, Westchester, Delaware. So I think having that prior experience really, really helped me. And just also too, even though online, you can bounce so many ideas off of your other classmates. And I understand being in person, you can also do the same thing. But, and I also too think if things weren't making sense, because it was very rushed. So if things weren't making sense, online or, in the book too, again, you can just jump on Zoom. We did a lot of study groups, things along those lines. But then also too, when you got in person, they made sure you understood it. It worked. You just ran through everything again. Nothing was neglected. That part was awesome. And I mean, also too, the downside of that too, you're not understanding something. And if professors weren't available or your classmates also weren't getting it, then you have to wait until you get to Boston to really understand it. But I do think that me having the prior experience, just being in the clinic and knowing what world I was in, definitely prepared me for that as well.
And so you always wanted to do sports, or did you come to that through graduate school?
That's an interesting question, because at first, as I was kind of like growing up, a good family friend of ours, he owns a clinic back home, and I was just kind of working there, and PT really wasn't on my spectrum at all. Like I was always in sports. Like I always wanted to play D1 soccer. I was tunnel vision. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't care what I did with my life.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to do that. I didn't really think too much of it. So he always told me, he's like, you'd be an awesome PT. Why don't you consider it? I'm like, it's so much school. Like, I don't know if I'm like, equipped for it. But then I got recruited by junior year to play soccer at St. Francis. So I went on and played there, and I think my first major, oh my God, I changed my major like 4 times. It was like teaching, then I was like a history major, but I was just into like working out and lifting too, besides from soccer. So that's why I was like, I could go exercise science, like program for people, that would be cool, health science. And then I actually ended up tearing my ACL my sophomore year. And then that's how I met Andrew Livingston, who shout out to Liv. He literally changed the trajectory of my entire career. I do kind of have like, your most common story of how someone becomes a sports PT, but he's really, and we can get into it too later, like he's really like changed my outlook on sports PT.
It was what, and now it's what?
Yeah, so before it was very cookie cutter, and I wasn't seeing anyone under like 50 or 60. And then I get into the sports PT world because Liv was doing his residency at St. Francis at the time. So he like helped me rehab and stuff. So that he showed me what the real world of sports PT absolutely is. It's all individualized care, and it's just like tailored to you as an athlete and to what you need as an athlete to get back better than baseline. And that's exactly what I like to do now with my athletes. So I kind of take what I learned from everyone around, and I put that into what my athletes need now.
So I'm thrilled selfishly that we've learned, like we've hired at this point, let's say 100 PTs, 150 PTs. And so now we're at a roster of 50 full-time physical therapists. And the reason I point that out is because there's no question I swung and missed a million times on the hiring process. So the way it currently works is we bring you in, we give you a case beforehand, right? And you evaluate me as the patient, and I pretend like I am fill in the blank, like a CrossFitter with shoulder pain, or a 16-year-old ACL girl, post-op ACL, or a low back pain. We have a number of cases that we send out. I think you were the ACL case, right?
Yeah.
And so in the past, my pure metric for gauging whether you could be a outstanding sports physical therapist is how well you did on the case.
Right.
You did okay on the case. You did unbelievably interpersonally. And now, like I look out at your caseload and you're rehabbing tons of ACLs and you're doing a great job of it. So there's obviously a learning curve there. How did you come out of school, interview, do an okay job on the case, and now you're crushing the case? What did you do to speed up that clinical education?
Yeah, so the interview was not my best performance there.
It was the best performance interpersonally. It wasn't the best clinically.
Yeah, and that's so I took everything you said and all that constructive feedback and criticism, and I ran with that, man. Like I was like, this is what I need to do to be a better person and PT, because I didn't know at that time was I going to get the job offer. I had no idea, but regardless, whatever the turnout was, I knew that happened for a reason, and I needed that feedback, and I was going to take that and I was going to run with it. So basically, I even like before the interview, I like to say I was very like proactive in the PT world and not very like reactive. Like before, I really like to use like social media as my resume, and I connected with like so many PTs in the PT world because it really is so small. When everyone said that, I'm like, is it really that small? But it really is small. So I kind of knew, like after keeping in touch with Liv, that I'm like, I need to be part of True Sports. I don't care what I need to do. I will be a part of this company, and I will be a good PT for them, and I will help my patients get better one way or another. So I just use my social media for the good. And I just followed all the True Sports PTs, followed you guys. I really tried to create my content towards the sports, rehab content. I even I went and worked out with them 4th of July on 4th of July, because you are who you surround yourself with. So I'm a firm believer in that. So I'm like, if I really try to immerse myself and show them what I'm about, people talk.
Yeah.
So if you know that I'm doing this, I'm not even a part of the company, and I'm showing up and I just want to really proving that this is what I want to be about, it's going to travel up the line. So I like to really think that I was just very proactive before graduation and knew what I wanted prior.
Yeah. So you mentioned 2 things there, really. One is show up and put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's staying in touch with Andrew Livingston so that you can kind of get that word of mouth.
Absolutely.
It is showing up on July 4th and working out with a squad. But it's also being coachable. And you didn't use that word, but I think that's definitely one of the metrics or characteristics we look for in hiring is how coachable is this person? So had you gotten every single thing right on that case, which is a tough thing to do. I don't know. I've been doing this for 15 years. I don't know if I would get everything right.
Right.
But if there's anything that you miss or didn't have time to go to, what I do is I try to give you feedback on that and watch to see your response. How coachable is the candidate in front of me?
Right.
And you were amazingly coachable, right? Like you just said yourself, you took that in, you didn't take it as a knock on you as a person, just on the performance of the day. And how do I get better at that? So I think that's another lesson there is how do you become or how do you show that you're coachable? And it's how you take that feedback. I think that's awesome. And it's a great lesson. So then you get offered the job. And by the way, I mention how many PTs I've interviewed because I used to test for different things. I really just used to test with how good are they clinically. I used to be obsessed with have they played a sport at an elite level. I think it's a piece of it, but I never played at a high level and I'm a decent enough sports physical therapist, right? So maybe that's not an awesome metric. We're really realizing that how excited you are to do what we do for a living, and maybe it's not a true sports, but how excited you are to be a sports PT in an awesome environment directly correlates to how successful you are as a sports PT. So then you get the offer, you come on. Yeah. Now, your clinical knowledge is the same as it was a month prior when you interviewed.
Right.
So walk me through your onboarding, your mentorship, things that were great, and then things that honestly could have been better.
Yeah. So we had our interview back when I was in my last clinical. I think it was back in August, and then graduation was December. So still in clinical when we did that, and then found out I got the job a little bit later, and then graduated, ultimately knew I was coming here, and so I took the boards end of January. And that's when I spoke to you, and I'm not is this a good idea if I work part-time here before the boards? I was just kind of stuck because I'm this is my first time. I want it to be the only first time.
Yeah.
So I'm how do I
taking the board?
Yeah. So that's when I really took your advice, and I was you know what? I am going to work here part-time while I'm studying for the boards because it's a good, because I was just so in the books. My head was in the books, and I was not getting out into the clinical space. So just being in this environment here in Delaware with Matt, because it's just us two right now, it really opened my eyes to a lot. And, like you said, not everything in textbook, man, is real life. And I knew that going into school, and that's what a lot, really frustrates me about how the curriculum's really taught, because it's not real life, most of it.
Yeah. What about the boards though? The boards. So my fear is if I'm playing devil's advocate, it's awesome to try to make you a great PT in those few months before you take the boards.
Right.
But is it too real world that when you sit in front of that exam, they're asking you questions that it's just textbook?
Yeah. That was also my challenge too. And talking to a lot of my friends that are PTs, they're hey, it's really good to be out in the clinical world, but just don't stray too far away from the textbook, because that's really important. And I really did my best. I was here for a couple hours, during the day, go home, just put my head in the textbook and just, kind of stay there and maybe disregard a little bit of what I learned here from Matt and just took it and ran with it. And I kind of tucked that away in my back pocket. When I think it was great. I would recommend that to anyone really just working part-time before they take the boards. I think that really helps.
I get that question a ton. I get new grads that are so nervous to stray from the textbook, or how am I going to how am I going to manage? How am I going to do both? How am I going to be
Yeah.
a good PT and a good student? Because you're really dancing. How do you balance that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I trusted you, and I trusted the advice around me because you guys had been in this position before. And again, like with all my other mentors, I'm like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm just going to more or less, I'm going to be here. We're going to try it out and we're just going to see how it goes. I was kind of like up in the air, as any typical new grad would be, but I knew that you guys are amazing and I need to listen to you. And that's exactly what I did. And I trusted myself and trusted my ability to do so.
We have a small sample size. We do have the only PTs that I've seen take the boards more than once. That's a nice way of saying fail the boards. Are PTs that chose to, I'm not ready to work. I just want to study. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why they had to retake the exam. But maybe it's because they didn't see it in real world. I know, and I'd say most PTs are visual learners, and so they like, they like seeing things in space, and so maybe it helps cement some of what they do.
Right.
But we have seen PTs that did not take our advice, and they're still awesome PTs, and they work for us, and
Absolutely.
they're great. But they had to take those boards twice, and that's really a kick in the ass when that happens. So I think that's really good advice. How did you go from treating athletes here in Delaware, going home and studying and keeping up with neuro and keeping up with wound care and all that crap?
Yeah, that was tough because I think I really was like, not that I got away from the books, but I think I was just like so damn excited that like, hey, this is what my future is gonna look like. I just need to get through. It's really the motivation of like, hey, like this is good information I need to know regardless of whatever setting I'm in. But I really hunkered down. I was like, I need to know this now. And I'll put it in my back pocket if I need it. And then that's how I separated the two, because we don't see a lot of, especially in Delaware Clinic, we don't see a ton of like neuro, Parkinson's, things along those lines. Anywhere really. So it's good information to have. It's good information to know. Put it in my back pocket. But I really just you kind of use my excitement.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good answer, but really just use my excitement that everything else, everything else I do here. And then kind of went home, separated the two, and went from there. But it was definitely like, it was tough in the moment, but just again, trusting everyone around me, trusting myself that, hey, this is what you got to do to get to where you want to be.
And it worked. Yeah. Okay. So then fast forward, it's interesting because now that I think about it, I went through something like this in my career also where I started in a clinic, and then what happened, my boss, I was in a clinic with two people, and it was my boss and myself. I was 2 years out at this point, and my boss tears his bicep, and he is gone for 6 weeks, and I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So Matt Taxon, who's the clinic director up here in Delaware, we got to get him on the pod.
Absolutely.
He, thank God, just had his first son, right? First kid. So he's gone for an entire week. You are left with 1 billion patients, right?
Yes.
So all of a sudden, you're 3-4 months out of school?
Yeah, it was, because his son's like a month old now, so yeah. And
so you're treating a full caseload plus his full caseload.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle it? How the hell do you do that?
First of all, Matt is great. He's an awesome mentor, and he's really helped me so much. As when I came in here, because I said it's only the two of us, so he's just helped me tremendously through absolutely everything, and he's really helped prepare me for that week. But I also too it was again one of those moments where I was like, hey, like if I want to prove to people that I belong here, this is exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And also too, I think it helped from my experience that I had at other PT clinics where you were treating like 4 people at once, and I was just getting thrown patients. So I took that prior experience, and not that I only still saw one every 45 minutes, but still just like having that having that routine down already kind of in my back pocket, knowing that this is exactly how I need to go about this patient. So I kind of structured.
There's so many things in your back pocket at this point.
I don't know.
10 minutes in, there's so many.
I keep saying it for some reason.
Okay, but that's in your back pocket in terms of the way you prepared.
Yeah.
You said Matt is so great. He's such a good mentor.
Mhm.
What does he do well? What is some of his secret sauce that he's given to you that has ramped up your clinical abilities?
Yeah, so just being prepared for every patient that walks in. That's the biggest game changer. And you have 45 minutes with each patient, so you get to pick, and the patient, how you guys spend that 45 minutes. And Matt always says, whether you have to come in 15 minutes before, or prepare the morning of or the night before, just having a good idea of what that patient is going to need for that certain session, and just always being prepared. That's really going to set you up for success, and it absolutely has. And he's like, we're awesome at bouncing ideas off of each other. If I'm one and be like, hey Matt, I'm kind of struggling with this patient, he's so quick to jump and be like, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Why don't I'll kind of help you. I'll hang out. I'll take a look at this, kind of see what I think. And he's been awesome on those lines. So he's never left me astray, and he's always there absolutely when I need him, all the time.
So what was the hardest part about both? Let's just take that week. I think he was out on paternity leave, or a little bit more. What was the hardest part? What was the biggest struggle? There's no way it was all smooth.
No, I mean, definitely, like, I think it helped too. I'll say the success of how I set the patients up, though, was huge. Like, if I had 2 ACLs kind of like at the same timeline back to back, if by chance they ran together, I was able to tailor those treatment sessions almost similar, not that similar, but like similar enough that, hey, like, because sometimes it feels like you have 5 minutes with the patient. Sometimes it feels like you have 2 hours with them. Yep. It just kind of depends on the day. So that week it was just going and going and going and going. I didn't stop. So I think, obviously hit a little bit of fatigue at the end of the week, but
how do you handle that?
I just kept going. Coffee, energy drinks. Every patient I have, they know me so well. They're like, what do you want to drink today? Do you want a C4? Do you want a Ghost? And they just literally show up with like all these energy drinks. They're like, you guys are amazing. You guys know me so much. So that definitely kept me going. Yeah, absolutely helps. But yeah, one of those weeks where, it's like, hey, it's 1 week out of how long, and it's this week can really be tell all of what I can truly handle as a new grad. So I was going to do whatever I can to make it go smooth, and the place was still standing and didn't burn down.
It was, so. Yes, and it always is. That's a tough lesson, but it's worth keeping in mind. I mean, I go through this in running true sports. Is it's going to be there, right? Yeah. Like whatever happens, it's going to be there. The company's going to be there. The facilities are going to be there. The people are going to be there. And if you have that in mind, it kind of gives you an easy way to look at it. Now, since you've been on here, so let's say you've been here for 6 months or so, you've already developed yourself a niche. And I think that's really hard to do as a new grad. So how did you do it? And then how did you market that niche? That's such a hill to overcome, because I just remember patients looking at me and being like, how long have you been doing this?
Yeah.
And when you haven't been doing it that long, you can't really rely on, listen, I've been doing this for a decade. I know what I'm doing. So how do you overcome that, and how do you develop that niche and then market it?
Yeah, so Delaware is actually a very small place, believe it or not. I thought I came from a very small town until I came here, and everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I really like to think about it as like being about it, practice what you preach. Getting out in the community, there's one gym in particular that's on the road that I go to, and I now treat basically everyone out of that gym.
How do you do that?
It's so, one, just being there myself, and just there's so many trainers and athletes and coaches in that space, in that environment. So me just being there and becoming friends with some people talk, and they're like, hey, would you be able to like show me this, or would you be able to coach me through this? And then so, word gets around, I'm there all the time. And then that's when some coaches and trainers will actually come to me themselves, and they'll be like, hey, I know you're at Titus with True Sports, do you mind if, can I come in for an eval for my elbow? And then so once you establish that relationship with kind of the highest person on the totem pole, it's a game changer. So you really just, one, you have to be, and this goes back to like a little bit before that, you have to be personable with your patient, and they're not just another number on the schedule. Like they have to know that you're about this life, and you know exactly what their sport is what they're going through. So that's a huge hitter. And if you're not really immersed in their world, then you need to be. So really just establishing that trust and that credibility with those coaches and the trainers themselves. And they're like, oh, okay, like I'm so much better. I'm going to send my clients to you. And now we have a huge referral system in and out that is just client after client. Hey, like Sam's, this PT at Titus, I'm going to send you to her. And it just trickles down the line. It just builds.
True Sports Physical Therapy is growing like wildfire. We have 14 locations, soon to be more. We are throughout the state of Maryland. We're in Pennsylvania, in Lebanon and York, Pennsylvania, as well as in Delaware, in Newark and Wilmington, Delaware. Like I said, so many more practices to come, and we always need outstanding sports physical therapists. Our treatment style is unique. We are one-on-one with your athlete for 45 minutes every single session. You do the entire treatment, you do the entire evaluation, and they are in state-of-the-art facilities where you have room to run, throw, and jump, and really get your athlete all the way back to on the field and better and stronger than they were. We also have outstanding salaries, comp structures, bonus abilities, 401ks, as well as a very strong continuing education offering, including in-house continuing education. And we're looking for you. Now is the time, as we are growing like crazy. Just shoot your resume over to Yoni, Y-O-N-I, at True Sports PT, or shoot us a DM and we will hit you back. We will get you in for our unique, tried and true interview process and really make a determination that this is the right place for you to grow your career and get your athletes better than ever. We can't wait to hear from you.
And okay, how do you get past imposter syndrome? What does imposter syndrome mean to you?
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced it, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a conversation that I have with Matt almost all the time, and he's also awesome too because he talks me off a lot of ledges like every single day. But so not but coming in, I was like, am I meant for this? You know what I mean? Like, am I good enough to be here?
Mm-hmm.
And also too, like going through the interview process, I'm like, man, like this is a lot. Is my brain equipped to take on all of this? Like, was my education enough? And I just really like started questioning myself in the beginning. But when you're in this environment, like at Titus, it's a huge sports facility. You are like with trainers and coaches that have been training professional athletes their entire career. So being in this environment changes you. You have to change, and you have to, once you're here, you're immersed in it. And then also too, like bouncing ideas off of people and just like, hey, what do you think of so-and-so? Like, was this, what would you do for this person? And just constantly being in it, it really solidifies that fact that like you are meant to be here. And then when you start slowly helping your patients and they see a quick difference and a quick turnaround, like, oh my God, like this is, I didn't realize I can be without pain, for how many years. It's like, okay, like what I'm doing is correct.
Yeah.
And I'm meant to do this. And then you just kind of take it and run with it. So not saying that I'm truly not over that, it's kind of 1 week it might be good. 1 week, might be like, oh man, like, am I doing, that's what I really struggle with. It's like, I care so much about my patients and I'm like, I go home one night and I'm like, did I do enough for this patient? And I overthink.
So what do you do when that happens?
Man, I'll text them. I'd be like, hey, how you feeling? And they're like, oh my God, I feel spectacular. I feel awesome. Like, can't wait to see you this week. And so that really also, like, I'm not texting everyone every single night after I see them, but here and there, if I'm like, oh, like I should have done this with this patient, or I'll make a note and I'll just be like, this is what I'm going to try with this patient next time they come in.
Yeah.
Because I think of something, I might think of something after they walk out the door. I'm like, oh crap, that would have worked perfectly.
Yep.
But they're gonna come in again. Like if you don't
cover
why they're
everything,
coming in
again though, because they like you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's you have to assure them coming back in 9 out of 10 times. It's going to be because they like you and want to see you.
Yeah.
Versus they know what's necessarily good for them.
Yeah, you can have like. That's always was one of my things too. Like you can have 4.0 in school, but you don't know how to connect with people. You don't know how to connect with your patients. If you don't know how to connect with them, they don't give a crap what you know. They're never going to come back and see you.
How do you connect with them? Someone like we just had a great conversation with Jill, who's a student at University of Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how unbelievable that program is academically and how rigorous it is academically. They will be the first ones to tell you that they are number one in the nation, right, in orthopedics.
Yep.
Now, that only goes so far
Yep.
because now Jill happens clearly based upon my conversation with her, she's electric. She's great
she's
interpersonally.
awesome. Yeah.
If you're not great interpersonally, if you're a bookworm,
Mhm.
you didn't get into med school, and so you went to PT school, what's your best advice to that clinician? How do you get good at connecting?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, like, one, it's you can't teach someone how to connect with
I want you
another
to teach them.
human.
Teach
No, I
them.
know. Get to know them. Like, get to like immerse yourself in their world, in their sports world. Like, if I have an athlete that's preparing for the Highland Games, which is like a Scottish like event, I sure as hell didn't know what any of that entailed when he
Yeah.
walked in the door.
What are they
but
doing? Like tree throws?
They do like a log throw.
Log throw.
And then it's like, yeah, it's like this huge ass log, and I don't even know. It's crazy. There's like tug of war and like weight for height, so they're throwing stuff over a bar. It's really cool stuff. But like, I had no idea what this entailed. But me immersing, watching YouTube videos, talking to him, having him show me videos, just being honest, being like, hey, like this is really cool stuff. I haven't seen a lot of people that are doing this. Let me send me as many videos as you can so I can look at your form. I can slow things down. I can see that. But just proving to the patient that you are here for them. They're just not another number on your schedule is huge.
Yeah.
Because they could, I'm sure, they've tried other PT places where they're seeing, PTs are seeing 5 people at one time.
Yeah.
Your patient care goes down the drain, and just showing them that you are here for them, that time, that hour, 45 minutes, it's all in. It's all theirs. It's being very attentive to detail, but also too, like, asking them about their day.
Yeah.
Asking them about their life. That's huge. Like, not even like, aside from the fact of, accomplishing their goals and tailoring every session towards their goals, just immerse yourself in their life too. Not saying that you have to show up at the doorstep, but just like get to know them.
Yeah. Be curious. I think it's
curious.
It's be curious. We used to have a big piece of our onboarding or our ongoing education that we called the Give Me 5 drill. And we got this from Meg Consulting. So shout out to them, because this is probably the number one thing that they taught me, which was at any given time, I should be able to stop a session, pull Sam Jankowski aside and say, Sam, tell me 5 things about this patient that have nothing to do with their pathology.
Yep.
And so what do they like to do? What kind of pets do they have? How many siblings do they have? Do they have any kids? Whatever it is, but you have to be able to get to know whoever it is. And I think that's really the answer that you're giving is, how do you turn someone who's not a people person into a people person? It's making them curious and giving them some of these tasks to do.
Mm-hmm.
Learn 5 things about the person in front of you.
Yep.
That's going to make you win friends and influence people.
Absolutely.
Like, that's going to make you a people person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get a little bit into the nitty gritty, right? You asked the question, did my education prepare me for the task at hand, for the career? Did it?
I like to think it did. Like I said, it's a lot of like cookie cutter textbook things.
Did they prepare you to rehab an ACL?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
How did you learn that? Because we see more of that than anything.
Yeah, I took the True Sports ACL
That's
course.
great. That's a shameless plug.
Yes.
What did it teach you?
Oh my gosh, just like so. I think I really struggled in the beginning, like before taking this course too, aside from like my personal experiences, when to implement different things. Or like, you had a general idea of like, hey, they're coming in right after surgery. You need heel pop, you need extension, you need all of that good stuff. But it's like, okay, they're achieving all of that. So then like, if it's just a normal ACL, like no meniscus, it's like, okay, how can we kind of get in the gait, normalizing gait, and then getting into the strengthening part of it. Like what's too much, what's too little.
Yeah.
And that course really helped me solidify as a new grad what's safe. Because I think I was almost being too cautious in the beginning. And that's when Matt, when we sit down, I'd be like, hey, like, would you have done this different with someone? Or like, how would you have, tackled this? And sometimes he's like, you're being way too careful.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you don't need to be this careful. He's like, get them with the trap bar. They'll be good. They're well equipped for it. They're well prepared. The rest of the range will come.
Yeah.
And then implementing that, I was like, oh, okay. Like,
it
absolutely works. So
what about the other way? Are there times when you found yourself being too aggressive? Because I think that can also be a mistake that new grads make.
Yeah, absolutely. There was like one time in particular too, especially with the patellar graft too. It's a lot of knee pain for sure. So, if one session we particularly go a little bit hard and they come in a day later and I'm like, hey, like, how's the front of the knee feel? Did you have pain after, during, like, how long did the pain last? When did it go away? And they're like, oh, like, I still kind of feel. I'm like, okay, like, that's kind of my red light or my yellow light to be like, okay, let's tailor today to be less than that. And let's kind of maybe focus on like posterior chain or do a little bit more like hands-on stuff to the graft just to take care of that knee pain. And it's like, I'm going to be seeing them for so long.
Yeah.
So like, I don't need to hammer them every session. We're not going to get behind. It's like, just know their body and know what they're, like, just take their subjective and run with it.
Yeah. And they're coming, you pissed off their knee. They're still coming back because they love you, right? And they trust you. So I think that's one kind of, let's say, antidote. That's one antidote to the problem of, hey, I did too much, right? You got to be their buddy, or they got to trust you.
Yep.
The other thing that you can do is lay out before you even get started. This is so hard as a new grad because you don't have reams of experience to say, you might look like this, you might look like that. At 6 months, you don't have that much to pull from. So if you lay out from the beginning, we're going to work together for 9 months or 12 months or whatever, there's no way in hell this goes 1,000,000% smoothly.
Right.
We're going to have some knee pain. Here's how we're going to work around it, right? We're going to have some knee stiffness. We're going to work around it. I still give this spiel. I gave it on Friday, right as the sun was setting. I said to the mom, she said, everyone said you should go to True Sports. This is going to be great, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I said, that's awesome. I'm thrilled they said that. Just so you know, and just so your kid knows, we're going to hit a speed bump. Either it's going to be motion, or it's going to be quad inhibition, or it's going to be both. Or we're going to work through it. And at 9 months, history says you'll be here because that's when we get our athletes rolling. Just giving them that mindset so that when they hit the speed bump, they're not like, Jesus Christ, Sam's a rookie. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. I'm out of here.
Right.
So I think it's trying to kind of reframe that. Walk me through your schedule of mentorship with Matt. You're in a unique position because it's just you two.
Yeah.
So now we're about to bring on a third in Delaware, right? And plenty more to come. So what was your schedule of mentorship? And what could we do better? What didn't you like about your mentorship?
Oh, man. Honestly, so when I came in, like you said, it's a very unique.
I get very nervous about answers that start with the word honestly. But go
no,
ahead.
I just say on. You realize in this podcast I repeat a lot of things, so we might need to edit that out.
That's fine. We'll edit that.
So coming in, it was a very unique experience. It's just Matt and I, and it's his first time as he's literally, got this place up and running in Delaware in a new state. So we're both learning. This is both this is a learning experience. So just one, when I came in, I really just like acted as a student, shadowed him. And then, then I would document, and then then he would slowly like put some people on my schedule, but it wouldn't be like 10 people at once. And then he would also like, I would take one of his patients, and then he would just kind of be there like a fly on the wall, and he would, then we would talk after. Like I pretty much said to him like, hey, like, I like to, kind of go over things at the end, or like, you know what I mean? Cause I've had a lot of CIs, or not combat CI, but like back in my clinical experience, I would just like, I'd be with the patient and I would, try and be so creative with things that try and think outside the box for them, because I want to show them that they actually matter. And I would get judged, and then I would get like, then they would jump in and be like, well, this is what we're going to do. But not like I was doing anything wrong. It was just because I wasn't doing things to their extent of what they're wet. And that made me so mad as a student. I'm like, what is this? Like, I understand, like, I'm learning from you, but it really frustrated me. And that's something like Matt has done amazingly, is like, he's never jumped in and, really been like, oh, actually, we're going to do this instead. So he really acts like a fly on the wall at first, and then after the patient
That's
left,
an awesome lesson, though, to clinical instructors that are listening, is let your patient within bounds, or let your student within bounds, let them fail. Let them try something. Let them, when the quad's not activating and you're showing the patient a TKE and they're using their glute and they can't get their quad, you're not going to cause harm, right? So let them fail, and then afterwards, don't cut their knees off during during the session, right? Because
Right.
it undermines you. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's really good advice. Okay,
Yeah.
how did you get over the fear of treating with your instructor in the room?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, that's what I was really fearful of. But with Matt, he's so laid back, and he's so like, it just knowing that like he trusted me right off the bat really helps. And I mean, like if he was kind of, one of those people where it was like, really portrayed that he didn't trust me in any kind of way, or if he was like not confident in my ability, then I'd be like, oh my God, imposter syndrome. Like,
Mhm.
am I meant to be here? Am I doing this right? I was like very flustered, but I never felt like that. And don't get me wrong, like first eval, I mean, like it was a scheduling thing. I got, thrown into it. And I'm like, heck yeah, like this is what I live for. Like I'm honestly better right off the bat. And I like, of course I prepare for every session, but there's going to be times in this profession where things happen, scheduling's off, and
Every
you're just
day.
going to have to roll with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's just knowing when and where to pull things from. But just having him trust me off the bat is really helped and really took away those butterflies and this and that. And then also too, like as a student, going through different experiences of being watched like a hawk,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I can handle this.
Yeah. Yeah.
but-
What's the worst that's going to happen?
exactly.
Tim Stone always says that once you join our family and you put on a True Sports jersey, we're dying to do anything we can so that the whole team wins, right? So we're done weeding you out. That's what pissed me off about graduate school. Was I got into graduate school and a year in, they're still trying to weed me out. I'm like, no, I need help
Right.
to get to it.
That's
So
what you're here for.
that's exactly. I thought, and that really bothered me. I don't know if
Yeah.
you can tell.
Yeah.
About my graduate school experience, because by the way, medical school, they really hold your hand a bunch. They want you to matriculate. They want you to graduate. I did not get that
It's like,
experience.
why is that not the same at PT school?
Correct.
Yeah.
Was it the same in yours? Did they help you?
Yes and no. It's like, when people would take practicals and, it was like frowned upon if you fail, and if
Mhm.
someone didn't, it was just like, and then people would send people through a whirlwind, and they would be so upset and this and that. And it's like, actually, you know what? When we did have like, I will say they did call it like, when we had people had to like remediate for practicals, it was more, I forget.
What's remediate meaning? You need help and then you're going to take
like
it
if you fail the practical, you would go retake it again, which was nice. They weren't just like, oh, yep, see you later. I think they call it extra. There was some professor, I forget.
Some
I forget
euphemism.
what that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, well, this is just extracurricular help or whatever. So that kind of helped calm some nerves. So yes and no, there were, it just kind of depended on the situation. But
okay, so then it kind of going along the same theme. Because your interview process, when you came in, I did your interview, I
Mhm.
was the patient. How did you handle the fact that your potential employer is the patient?
Yeah.
And secondarily, what would you change about our interview process?
Yeah. So of course, I was nervous as hell.
Same. So was I.
Because knowing that, like, I just being okay with, I'm not going to know everything going into the interview process. And I accepted that. I was like, listen, this is a learning experience for both of us. And I'm going to take whatever the hell he says and I'm going to run with it. And, but yeah, just not like, of course, I prepared as much as I possibly could have.
How did you prepare?
I sat down, I got the case the night before, and I really just sat there and I kind of took all my prior experience, and myself going through the rehab process with Liv, which taught me a lot as well. That was a long time ago, but I still am able to take that experience of being a patient myself and twisting that into what I needed to do. But also, like the latest research, all that kind of stuff. But I was really nervous that night, and then went into the interview, and I'm just like, you know what? Whatever I do, I'm going to try my best. Like, it doesn't matter if this is right or wrong. I'm going to show him that I want to be here. I'm passionate about this. I want to grow. And that's the only way I'm going to do it if I'm able to take regardless of constructive criticism. And back to the interview process. Like I said, the case wasn't the best. The patient was lacking a little bit of an extension. I should have absolutely
a lot of
extension. So I definitely should have kept them on the table. But I think I did let my nerves really get the best of me, and I think I just wanted to showcase other like terminal knee extension exercises that I can do off the table when I absolutely should have just stuck with the basics because I was so worried about being that cookie cutter PT. That's exactly what I didn't want you to think I was like another cookie cutter new grad that's coming in and just going to give sideline clamshells and whatever. But I think I let that get the best in me because there is a time and a place for certain things that I'm learning now. And it's okay to do some of those things if it's best for the patient.
Yeah.
And I let that get the best of me, and I got too excited, and I got too, so that's what I would 100% change, but I wouldn't change the fact that I got constructive criticism. I'm kind of almost happy that the interview went that way because if it was perfect, then what would I have learned from it? I wouldn't be able to take what you told me and I'm doing what I'm doing today in the clinic. So like I said, everything happens for a reason. I'm happy it kind of went south.
It's a good, I mean, it's a great outlook on life that you have that things will happen for a reason and kind of it is what it is. What could we do better? What would have been a better gauge of Sam Jankowski?
That is a tough question. Oh my God.
Come on, it's your clinic. You're opening up a brand new clinic. You're starting your own business, let's say.
Yeah.
You're about to do your first interview. How do you want to structure your interview process that's different than what we did?
Hey guys, quick pause and a quick shout out to this new masterclass that we just launched here at True Sports Physical Therapy. Myself and Dr. Tim Stone put together a masterclass of ACL rehab, and we call it From Table to Turf. And the reason we call it that is because it's going to teach you exactly how to get your athlete all the way from post-op day one with the nitty-gritty of regaining all of that range of motion with the tips and the tricks that we use here at True Sports Physical Therapy that gets our athletes better, faster, and stronger. And that's early. And then how do you progress that athlete all the way onto the field with a ball in their foot or a stick in their hand or whatever their sport is and teach them how to accelerate, how to decel, how to change direction, and all the mechanics that go in there. What drills do we use to get our athletes exactly where they need to be back on the field and even better than before injury? And I want you to sign up for that class. Now, you can find it on our website. You can shoot us a direct message and just say, hey, send me the course. It's right now on sale, so make sure you sign up now. It is fully accredited to get you all of your continuing education hours. Sign up for the True Sports Masterclass ACL From Table to Turf. Thanks, guys.
Ooh. I mean, I 100% would definitely do a mock case because you have to see how they are clinically. But I think maybe sticking around and because obviously people are going to be nervous as hell when they first come in. So maybe just like getting to know the clinic first and just hanging out a little bit before versus like diving right into the interview, just getting some nerves out, talking to some of the other PTs like, hey, like this is awesome place. Like very, we're like back. We're not, this is how you need to do every single thing.
Yeah.
We learn, I'm still a PT. I've been a PT for 10 years. I'm still learning every single day.
Yeah.
So maybe just taking advice from others and just, letting the nerves kind of cool.
That's really good advice because I don't remember if you shadowed following. I think you did.
I was before in Bel Air.
Okay.
And then I stuck around after for like the whole day or whatever. And then
in Bel Air.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I was in Bel Air before the interview, which was really helpful as well.
Okay. So you saw a little bit, but you're right. Very often, like I just did an interview on Wednesday and he came in, I showed him the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the case and then I said, hey, you can stick around after if you want to spend time. Always stick around after and spend time.
Absolutely.
Would be my advice to the person interviewing. I mean, sometimes that's not possible.
Yeah.
But I think that's great advice to have them do that prior. Come in at 1:00, shadow me or shadow whoever. By the way, it's probably even better if they shadow the person interviewing them. So that'll kind of help with some of those nerves.
Yeah.
And then do the case and then follow up. That's really good advice. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah. That just would have maybe, not saying it would have changed anything in our interview, but I know probably would have helped me calm some nerves a little bit. But, so.
That's really good advice. Okay, give me an example of a patient since you've been here 6 months where you crapped the bed.
Oh, yeah. So, I want to say like there was, I'll kind of go back to my athlete in the Highland Games because I had no idea what any of his events entail because he was here for knee pain. And I was like, I need to see what this guy's about and what he's doing. What is he doing to contribute to this knee pain? And like, it's when you are working with higher level athletes, they know their body already. They know exactly what they need to do. And it's like, I know I still kind of struggle with this because I see a lot of powerlifters, strongman, professional bodybuilders. So it's like they're obviously like, any athlete's connected with their body, but anytime I like plan, I get so excited. I'm like, this is what I'm doing with this person today. They're like, oh, I've done it this way a million times before. I'm like, gosh.
Even worse, by the way, is when they say, I already did this today.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, all right, well, there's a million ways to do different things. There's a million different approaches that we can take to accomplish the same goal. Then my brain goes on a loop, and then I'm like, all right, this is what I have to do now, and this is what we can do at the end. But it's like, if they've already done it this week, or they're like, yeah, I do this as my warm-up. This is my warm-up split that I do 3 times a week. Well, I'm not going to make you do the same thing here that you're doing at home. A session would be useless. But I'm like, okay, well, let me watch you do it, and let me see if anything here is contributing to any kind of pain. Like, that's also too, like, where I've like kind of kept it better, where it's like, all right, then you're on, of course, you need to put your thinking cap on and always are thinking critically. But it just throws you through a loop when you're so excited about a session, you have all this planned out, and then they're like, oh, I've done all of this.
So your recovery is what? How did you recover from that, and how do you get them back for a visit 2 or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, let's do it, regardless if you've done it before. I just want to see your form. I want to see how all of this looks. And 9 times out of 10, it's like there's something there, and they love that. They love the ability that you're able to pick out thing by little thing, and how they can implement that into what they're already doing, and then they see the value in that. And they're like, okay, like this girl, she knows what she's doing. I'm going to come back again because we're going to do something else. And there's going to be a little critique, or she's going to show me something new. So, but it's really cool. Like a lot of my patients, we bounce ideas off of each other sometimes. We learn from each other. Like I had one patient that he was in for like kind of neck pain. He was a bodybuilder, but he's done now. I kind of just discharged him. But he was like, you've literally taught me so much that I'm going to take that. I'm going to run with it. But yeah, it's cool because like, they know their body, they know what they're doing. So you just, kind of take what the athlete needs and put your little twist on things. And it just goes from there.
Well, I think you're amazing based upon what you're describing at building the environment that you guys are on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, you're going to prove to them, they're going to prove to you, you're going to give them the answers, they're going to give you the questions, but you guys are going to work together. And when you take that approach, all of a sudden your session is very different than, oh crap, he already did this, but you guys are going to work together through maybe something they already did and figure out kind of how we get better together. You mentioned one of the mistakes you made during the interview process was getting too fancy.
Mm-hmm.
If what the patient needs, so take what type of athlete is the best athlete you currently work with?
Oh, they're all good athletes.
Okay, the best.
Oh my gosh.
Have you worked with any NFL guys? Have you worked with any professional lacrosse guys? Have you worked with professional baseball players? Have you?
Yeah. So great. Like here and there, because there's a lot of that are in here already. They're like, hey, can you help me with so and so? They might not particularly be on my caseload yet, but they're here working out.
Okay, great. So, and what level were they playing at?
Pro.
Okay, they're playing pro baseball. Say minor league baseball. Let's say it's a AA baseball player, and the guy's had injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pitcher. He knows how to rehab a shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And you determine what he actually needs is something like super simple. He needs rotator cuff recruitment. So he needs to be doing prone, I, Ys, and Ts, let's say.
Yeah.
How do you make that interesting enough to him that he's going to want to come back?
Yeah, so it's really just diving into the details. If that means that I need to be doing tactile cues on, like in rhomboids or like whatever, just not being like, oh, let's go do I T's and I's on the bench, whatever, and just like leave me alone. It's absolutely not. Like I will literally go over and I will be like, this is where you're going to be feeling it. And I'm going to have you pause. I'm going to have you do some iso holds that might be a little bit different than his normal warm up, just doing bands and this and that. Cause they're already doing most of that stuff to begin with and warming up, but it's how can you put the twist on it by just doing the little things or just being there with them and just giving those little tactile verbal cues that they may not get.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because oftentimes we're talking AA in this case, but even the big leaguers that I work with, they very often are doing the right things.
Mhm.
They're just not doing them correctly.
Correctly.
Yeah, correctly. And no one cares. And they're getting a slip. Even in the NFL, like I'm working with guys in the training room that are handed their exercise. They go and do their exercises. And the only nuance they get by coming to me is I'm going to sit there, just like you said, watch them do it, make it a little bit harder, maybe make it a little bit easier, but
Yeah.
make it more effective. And then the cherry on top is, let's take a quick walk over to the skeleton. I'm going to tell you why we're doing this. I'm going to tell
Right.
you why you're doing this. I'm going to tell you what you can do better. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you in session 2
Right.
that's going to progress towards your goal.
Yeah, laying out.
Exactly. And laying it out and being overly meticulous. Like you said, minding the details, how important that is. A case that recently that I struggled with massively was an NFL guy post-op Achilles tendon repair. And he's struggling with a straight-legged heel raise. He just cannot do it, and he's months and months out. And so what I did over the weekend, shout out to David Gray, I went back to my David Gray course that I bought in 23 and just rewatched it. I did it myself in the gym, and then I had a whole new session for him, even though we've been together a million visits.
Right.
I said, dude, we're going to do something different. He's like, where did you get this from? Who did this? Why have we not been doing this? All this stuff, but okay, but we're doing it today. Let's see how we do. And it was probably our best session of the hundreds of sessions we've had.
Yeah.
Because you got to be willing to take a step back and also explain it to them. Here's why and how. So it's just
and I also really like how you said I did it myself in the gym. Like that is huge. That's kind of like where I go back to be about it. Do it yourself. Practice what you preach, and then it's going to translate to every single patient you have.
Yeah. That's great advice, and that's why I loved coming in here early to do this pod. Watching Matt do Bulgarian split squats, like he's in here doing them, right? And trying them, which is a whole nother point, which is why do we have PTs that come in and interview or whatever and don't lift or don't train or whatever, don't
Not
run.
even the space.
Pick your thing, pick something, and make sure that you're doing it partially so you look the part, but also so you can understand it.
Yeah, understand the athlete's feeling. Hey, Matt's doing Bulgarian split squats, but if he does them a certain way, he shifts his weight forward or just adds anything little in. Oh, I can use this with so-and-so today. That would be perfect.
Yeah, that's gold.
Just feel
and they love
yourself.
it.
Yeah.
And they love it. Okay. The Eric Cressy lightning round. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Who is the best physical therapist in the world?
Oh my, you're going to start off with that one.
Yes. It's a great one.
Everyone that I've worked with at True Sports.
Yes. Aside from that.
Oh.
Who's your PT
Andrew
hero?
Andrew Liv.
Okay, that's a good answer. Now, what if I throw in the caveat of they don't work at True Sports?
Okay. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Megan, Tavita, or whatever.
Yes, I had her on the pod. She's amazing.
Huge fan of her. I've been a fan of her for a couple of years.
Why didn't you tell me to have her on? Why did I have to find her on my own?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll start to listen to people.
She was awesome.
She's awesome.
Sex.
Oh my gosh.
Sex? Is there
yeah,
sex?
Yeah, I think she just got married, but oh my god, yeah, she's great. Been a fan of her ever since she was in school at Baylor, because she actually went to school with one of my friends and went to the Baylor program.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, I love her outlook. I think she's super humble. God knows she's about it, right? Mm-hmm. She's lifting like crazy, but just has an awesome outlook. So I encourage anyone listening to go back and find that episode. What do you love about Livingston? Because you mentioned him first. What makes him so awesome?
He changed my outlook, like I said before, on how sports PT should be. But I was going through, anyone that's starting to going through a big injury, have just it's a dark time. It's it's different. So he was the first one to put a smile on my face. I was like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and it's gonna be okay. And it's just the mental side of that's huge for athletes.
That's awesome. That's a good answer. Okay, who's the best strength coach in the world?
Oh,
aside from Sean Hoffman.
Oh my gosh, that's strength coach.
Who are you dying to train you? You would do anything to have a session with this guy.
Dean, you're at Titus.
Okay, good answer. How about someone you don't work with?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Come on. We got plenty of time. We'll edit out the pause.
I'm trying to think. The best strength coach. Oh my gosh. I'm blanking on people.
I'll give you my answer. My answer is Kelly Starrett. I want that guy to train me.
He was in the
He was on the pod really early before I knew
Yeah.
what the F I was doing,
Yeah.
and I had a horrible internet connection, and I wish I
Yeah.
could redo that interview. I think I'm going to get him back on, so it's not
Yeah.
all blurry. He also had he put his foot in his mouth amazingly about Israel and Jews and what language we speak. That was amazing, but he's learned. We've had long conversations since then. What a pleasure that guy is. But I want him to train me because he is the first one, I would say, to merge the PT and strength worlds.
Yeah, that's
He's
huge.
also lived multiple lives as an insane CrossFitter, all about mobility.
Mhm.
Then he turns himself into an ultra marathoner at like 250 pounds. So like he's checked a lot of boxes and can work with these different energy systems. So I think that would be really fascinating.
You know, it's kind of in my head.
Okay, good. I killed enough time.
Dr. Pat Davidson.
Okay, why?
Because he also takes, like, a girl I used to work with, huge into like PRI. He takes the PRI kind of like strength coach and just merges everything together, just like a different way to move your body in space. That is ultimately, I don't know why I didn't think of him right after that, but like he's definitely, I've taken some of his approaches and I use them. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I love it. I definitely want to take, I know he has a course, so I'd like to
dive. Yeah. By the way, David Gray also is another guy who I would love to
he's
train
awesome.
with.
I follow him, and he's the foot guy.
He's the foot and ankle guy. He's got some like ACL stuff coming, which is also awesome.
That's awesome.
He's super humble about the way he goes about things. And you know, I've rehabbed 1 billion Achilles tendinopathies and tendon repairs. Yeah. And I learned a ton from him.
He has a different spin on everything, I feel
It's his accent.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's what it is. Okay. So what is the most recent book you've read?
Well, besides from Colleen Hoover, Make Your Bed.
Okay. And you learned what? To make your bed? The little things matter?
Yep.
Give me something that's not cliche that you learned from that.
I mean, everything is kind of like cliche in that, to be completely honest. I mean, like, if you can't, the big takeaway, if you can't do the little things right in life, it's never going to translate to the big things. And you can put that into work, you know, life, anything social.
And what's the one little habit that you have that pays extraordinary dividends?
Well, I could say making your bed, but that would be very cliche.
It would.
The one habit that it's about, I don't know if this is really answering the question, but like taking care of yourself before anything, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to show up right for others. So whether that's mentally, physically, whatever you have to do, and I make sure I try and check all of those boxes most of the time, because life does get crazy, but you have to take care of yourself and be the best version of you before you come out and try and help anyone else.
That's an awesome answer. How do you navigate taking too much care of yourself? I've worked with PTs that are like, I'm not going to see this patient because I got a lift scheduled. I got to go lift. So how do you navigate selfishness versus self-care?
Still trying to navigate that for sure. And there's definitely, I don't have the right answer, but like as a new grad, I'm kind of my answer is probably a little different from a lot of other people. My schedule has changed drastically because no matter what, like I will do whatever I can for my patients and being the best PT that I can be for them. So whether that means that I come in an hour or two earlier than I'm supposed to be, or I stay an hour or two later, I text them back at 11 o'clock at night. I don't care. So I constantly think about like, I'm working, because also too, my social media is kind of like my resume. So I have a lot of people that reach out to me on there. Mm-hmm. So I also have the conversation with that, but I really don't stop and trying to, find the happy medium between that. Whether that's waking up early and getting an earlier class slot and going to the gym or something along those lines, making sure I'm good, but then also too that doesn't blend into what I have to do for the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love the way you put that, because you might be doing the same thing. So you might be cutting out, right when you're done with patients to get your lift in. But if you're looking through the lens of I'm doing this so that I can come back tomorrow and do X, I think that's such a great way to navigate that. I'm just doing this for myself versus I'm doing this for myself so I can continue to perform for others.
Absolutely.
And that's a great way to look at it. Thanks for that. Okay, how can the millions of sports PTs listening find you?
Through my Instagram, Dr. SLJ Fit. I think that's it. I have to double check on my handle.
We'll put it in the notes.
We'll put it in the notes. I've changed it a billion times, but Instagram's really my go-to, to be completely honest. I try and get a lot of good content on there as well, but don't be afraid to shoot me a message. I'll get back to you whenever I can, which I'm on Instagram like all the time, so that won't be a problem.
I love that. Okay, so SLJ Fit, I learned a ton from watching it. I've learned a ton today during this conversation. I can't wait to have you on again, if you will.
Absolutely.
Next time I'm
I'd
up
be
in
honored.
Delaware. Yeah, we should make this a recurring thing.
We should. I love it.
So
I love it. What's more?
I love it. So to everyone listening, find us at True Sports PT on Instagram. Let me know how well I did interviewing the great Sam Jankowski, what you wish I would have asked, and what you want to hear more of, because we'll turn it into another episode. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here, Sammy. Really appreciate you. Everything you do, your outlook is so refreshing. What a freaking pleasure.
It's an honor.
Thank God we brought you onto this team.
I'm excited. I'm so pumped every single day to be here, and I couldn't thank you guys enough for taking a chance on this.
I love it. I love it. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. Bye-bye, bye-bye.